start earlier or later due to obesity or malnourishment. Another thing that I needed to unlearn was about Parkinson's disease, and I just learned this in the previous chapter. I think it was chapter 14. I had known about Alzheimer's. I had a family member that struggled with Alzheimer's, so I knew most about it. And Parkinson's disease, I just remember that we had a lunch lady at my school that we knew had Parkinson's disease, and she just always was shaking, like not like muscle spasms, but just kind of shaky, and her head would shake a little bit, and like everyone, I just thought that that was Parkinson's disease, that you just, didn't have control of your nerves and muscles, and you kind of just shook, kind of thing. And I had just thought that for the longest time since I was in, my later elementary, beginning of middle school years. I just always thought that that was Parkinson's disease, that you shake. And, but really, I learned that, you know, Parkinson's disease is the degeneration, I wrote this down, of a specific group of neurons in the midbrain that controls your movement, your balance, and speech and other functions, which, shaking is a function. I mean, not a function, but shaking is your muscles and movement and stuff, so that can be a cause or an effect of Parkinson's disease. But I thought it can actually have really detrimental effects, to your movement and balance, and you can't really live your life right, when I really thought that Parkinson's disease was just shaking. And so that is something that I need to unlearn also, which I've thought that since I was probably about 9 or 10 years old. So that is a long time, it seems like. So I'm glad that I actually finally learned that. So now that I know, what Parkinson's disease actually is, I've thought wrong for the longest time. And then the last thing that I would want to try to unlearn, but also learn more about, is the stage theory of dying. And I had always heard, on TV shows, I watched this one TV show, and something had happened, not necessarily death, but then they were talking about the 5 stages that you go through: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And it was kind of in a humorous way, like I thought it was just kind of funny. And I feel very blessed that I've never had to experience a super close relative, as in like a mother or brother or anything like that, pass away. So I never really had to deal with these 5 stages. I think that I have really just been through the last stage, which is acceptance. I just went through the loss of my great grandmother. She had battled autism. I mean, not autism. She's battled Alzheimer's for a long time. It started as Pick's disease, which can cause you to lose your memory too, and then it eventually turned into Alzheimer's, to the point where she didn't really know anyone's name anymore. And that was difficult to go through, but she was my great grandmother, and she had been sick for a while, and so I kind of just accepted her death and just kind of went on and just knew that she was in a better place, and that she won't have those memory problems as she goes on, as she passes. And so I feel like I just used the acceptance stage, when really I've never had to deal with the others. But I always thought that it was just like a funny thing that I'd seen on TV shows. I didn't really think that it was a real, stage theory, that someone actually formulated, that people really go through, especially when they go through a loss of a family member or loved one. And also, a thing that I kind of not struggled with, but I thought it was interesting to learn, was that middle knowledge is both knowing and not fully comprehending your fate, or like what's going to happen to you. If you're sick, you know that you're sick, but you don't know that you're gonna die soon, and I never thought that. And so now that I know, I'll probably be more compassionate toward those who actually have to deal with their loved ones going through things like this and trying to deny it and feeling kind of hurt and sad about how their loved one's gonna end up, kind of thing. Like, they don't really know that they're dying, but they are. Everyone's gonna die, And so I just think that it was interesting to know, and I found it very helpful to know that, people go through the same things and they go through the stages of, loss and dying. And all the 5 stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And like I said before, I feel as though I've only gone through the stage of acceptance. I consider myself very blessed and lucky to be able to say that. But others aren't as lucky. So I just think that the book has really helped me more understand the whole lifespan. Starting from birth. Developing our brain happens in the womb, and then to the end, where there's different diseases and different things that can affect us and that can negatively affect our lives, which can bring on death at an earlier age. And then the 5 stages that our loved ones go through and people go through as people pass on. And I just think that it's interesting to know all that, and I think that it will really help me in my future. I want to be a child psychologist and help children through anxiety and depression, and I think that knowing the steps and knowing things about the development from the beginning of life to the end will really help me deal with children and their parents, that struggle with losing someone, or losing a father or a mother or a grandparent, or struggling with if their development process is different, if they have psychological disorders or another disorder that can cause them to seem like they are different. So I'm just really grateful that I have been able to take this class in the summer and learn so much that can really help me in the future. So this is my final project.